Okay, hi Mom. This is Teresa, and I'm having a conversation with Mother, and we were talking a little bit about how she grew up and everything. So we're going to make a video. So Mom, tell me a little bit about your parents and everything, and kind of where your early life in Arkansas. What was that like?
Well, my mother was born in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Daddy was born in Oklahoma. Oh. And they met in Arkansas. And my mother was a school teacher, and my dad was an engineer on the railroad. Hmm. And they got married in 1906 and started raising children. So they both quit their jobs and went to farming. And so there were 16 births, 16 children.
16?
16.
Oh.
And 6 of them died in infancy before I was born. So 10 of us lived to adult age. Mm-hmm. And
where were you?
Our farm, I was the 14th child. Mm-hmm. Out of the 16 births. So there's 2 born after me. We had a good-sized farm. In fact, we had 2. We had a gardening for household food, and then we had a commercial field that we grew, and they had a canning factory right there in northern Arkansas where we lived, and so we grew tomatoes commercially for that. Mm-hmm. And then we grew food for other people in the location there at the foothills of the Ozarks. Mm-hmm. And cash money wasn't a lot of upflowing going on. It was just my dad and mother were very educated and knew how to make money out of. Dad was good in his engineering and working and taking care of all the neighbors' field equipment. Mm-hmm. And so.
Now you were born in 1921, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you were about 9 years old when the Depression hit, but you worked. You kind of all worked. You all helped out. All the kids kind of helped out in the summertime and when they were out of school, right? Because didn't they have shorter school sessions or something back then so you could work, help the family, farm or whatever? When was school? It wasn't September to May, was it? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't remember. Okay. Well, did you work on the farm? Okay. Did you work in the field a little bit?
Well, no, I didn't, but my older siblings did. Mm-hmm. And I was the one that was following them. Mm-hmm. I was only 8 years old when Daddy was killed. Yeah. Accidentally in a logging accident. And so that's when we left Arkansas, a year after he was killed. So my younger years are going to be fulfilled with a lot of laughter because you get that many children. And the early memories that we had a real happy home. Mm-hmm. We had a very happy home. There were never any arguments with the siblings.
Yeah. Your parents were both musical too, weren't they?
Yes. We had an organ and a piano. My oldest sister played. Mm-hmm. And in the warm time, we would all gather around the piano, and we little ones would be standing on chairs, and we'd all sing hymns. We grew up in the home singing hymns, and that's how we learned about Jesus. Mm-hmm. And early, because country churches, people in large families just couldn't get there with that many children to get them to church. So as they grew into childhood, my older siblings did go to church, and they would walk 5 to 10 miles on a Sunday to go to church and come home. It took most of the day just for church for them.
A full day, yeah.
What
instrument did your dad play?
My dad played the violin. And then the other happy memories was at Christmas time. Because we always had surprise gifts. And we always, every child had a stocking hanging on the chimney. And we little ones, the girls got dolls, and usually the boys got some kind of a tool set. And that was always a real happy time at Christmas time. And other memories are really funny about.
I love the memories you're telling,
with things
stories
going on with the little ones and the older ones supposed to be looking after the younger ones.
Oh, your mother was busy with all the work and everything.
Lauren was just 14 months older than me, and I was just 14 months older than my sister. And then my little sister was 2 years younger. But we three older ones took my little sister and put her on the back of one of our cows. And we had an old barn that had 2 sheds, one on each side of it. And we'd slap that cow on the rail, and it'd go moo. And my sister would just bounce it up and down and saying, ho, ho, ho.
She was 2 years old? How did she even fit on a cow?
Just her legs straight out. She couldn't have been over 2. And the other time was when we had, Dad and Mother had all kinds of entertainment for us. And Dad had made a big swing hooked to an oak tree out in our goat pasture. And so we, with my 2 older sisters and my 2 younger ones, and me, was swinging and and the older ones were always so good to us little ones. And so I was in the swing, and my baby sister wanted to swing, so my sister, that was 5 years older than me, picked her up and put her in my lap and turned her backwards, for me to put my arms around her. So I put my arms around the ropes on both sides to hold my sister in. Well, the swing swung out over a kind of a cliff. And at the bottom of this cliff was rocks.
Oh, Lord.
And down in there is where we had a toy that we played on a genie that you used to get on, and they swung around with it. Anyway, when they swung me out, naturally I turned loose of my sister and grabbed onto the rope, and she went flying out down in the rocks and knocked her out.
How old was she? Was this Aunt Mabel?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
I couldn't have been over, I don't think I was school age. And so she was just little.
Yeah.
And so Beatrice, my sister, that was the oldest one with us, went down and picked her up, and we all went up to the house. And I could hear Mother say, "Oh, my lordy, girls." And that's all I remember, but she come out of it okay.
I love the story of when you guys were playing with the chicks, the new chicks. Oh, yeah. What's that about?
That was probably about the same age. We always, Southern people, always have a siesta after lunch. And so we all took naps
Mm-hmm.
where we wanted to lay, and take a nap after having lunch. Well, Mother and Daddy was always busy because the older ones were to look after us little ones. And so my two little sisters and my brother were outside, and it looked like that it was sprinkling a little bit of rain. And we had an incubator of chickens that Mother and Dad always got at that time of the year and raised them.
Mm-hmm.
And they had seen Mother take her apron and pick the little chicks up and put them in the incubator when it was raining, And she hadn't gotten out there, so they were picking them up and putting them in our tubs that was in the yard that we used for catching rainwater.
Mm-hmm.
And they had used the tubs to put the little chickens in, and when they got the tub full, they was putting a cover over it. When Mother and I had just woke up from a nap and got out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so Mother come out there and she says, "Children, what are you doing?" And she took the lid off of the tubs, and of course some of the chickens were smothered from it. But she brought them all in, and we had a peach tree in the yard, and when we had to have a punishment, she always made us pick our own switch. So we tried we knew just how big one we could get by with. And we come back in the house, and my oldest sister that was school teaching was in the living room, and she heard it all. And when Mother come to start to whip me, she come in there, she I was her pet. She took me everywhere when she went, and so she and I were very close. And she said, "Now, Mother, you're not going to whip Doris," because she was napping and she wasn't out there. My mother said, "Is that right?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, I'll tell you, if you tell me a story," she said, "then I'll dream about it. And tomorrow you get twice as hard of whipping." And I didn't deny it. But the next morning I wondered if she had that dream. I was afraid to get out of bed. But it's never mentioned.
Did that stick with you for a while, that your mother could dream of you?
Till I come out from my bed, and she didn't say anything about it, so I didn't mention it either.
But that must have been something, because she had 4 active kids under the age of, say, 5 or so, because you weren't school age, with Uncle Lauren and everything. So really, 4 kids. And so that left the 6 that were busy helping with the farm or in school or doing other things, the older kids and stuff. So what a handful.
None of us 6 were old enough to do any farm work before we left Arkansas. It was our siblings that did.
Yeah.
But so
how were the winters and everything? Did you have real harsh winters and everything? I mean,
I don't remember. Back at the turn of the century and up until World War One.
World War II, you mean?
I mean,
Oh, World War One. That was before you were born. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Things were tough for especially mountain people and people that lived in the mountain regions.
Rural areas, yeah.
So
we were talking about the weather and the harshness of it and everything, because I remember you telling me about when got really bad, you couldn't go to school or something because of
Yeah.
the weather and stuff.
When we when we had snow, we had snow. It was deep, and the wind would have snowdrifts,
Mm-hmm.
and it come up that bad. And so a lot of times, coming home, grandmother and grandfather lived just halfway between my house and the school. And the school was 3 miles from our house.
Okay.
And I would just stay over and stay with Grandma, and they'd pick me up the next day then and take me on to school with
And go
them.
from there. Mm-hmm.
So that's what had happened. It was really snowing when we come home, and so I stayed at Grandma's. And always before, when my oldest brother come to get me, why, I'd be dressed and ready to go to school. I love school. And so he come by this particular morning, and she said, "Sis, you can't go to school today. There's no traffic, and no kids are going from this area." And all I had to do was kind of pucker my lip. And he said, "Well, Grandma, dress her real warm, and I'll carry her on my back to school." So he carried me.
This is your brother?
He carried me. He was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 5. So I was 6. And he carried me on my back all the way to school. And I can remember when we got to the school, I made him put me down because I didn't want the other kids to see me riding on my brother's back.
How many kids showed up? Probably not very many.
Not very many. There wasn't. My friends weren't there that lived right there where Grandma lives.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any of my friends at school one day. But he carried me back on his back, and we went back to Grandma's.
How far was that, I wonder?
About 1.5 miles.
Yep. That was Uncle Doyne,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, okay, well that's kind of enough for early childhood. I want to get more into when you went to school and growing up, and all the things, because you went through the Depression. My gosh, you went through World War II and the 50s. So you've got a lot of knowledge to share. So we'll cut this one off, Mom, and we'll do another one. Okay? I don't want to wear you out the first time. Talk to you later.
Okay.